In this lesson, we're going to study the pronunciation of 15 advanced words that learners of English very often get wrong. This lesson is especially useful if you are an upper intermediate, an advanced, or a proficiency student of English. But even if you are an intermediate student, you should be able to follow the video without many problems. As always, we're going to study each word on its own, and I'm going to be giving you tips and tricks and telling you exactly how it should be pronounced. We're then going to put these words into sentences, because that's a really important part of practicing pronunciation, to practice words we are learning in a broader context, and then, building on that, we're going to use these words in a story so that you can practice them even more. So without further ado, let's have a look at our first word. And I'm laughing here because this word is probably one of the most counterintuitive, and because of that, one of the most difficult words in English to say correctly. How would you say it? You don't have to watch this video if you know exactly how to say this word, because probably that's the hardest one we're going to do today. So, how would you say it? Listen. Tomb. Tomb. That might not exactly be the pronunciation you expected to hear, right? So, let's go step by step. Probably the only thing that's not surprising in this word is that it starts with the T sound. The rest is all a mess. So first of all, we have a silent B at the end of this word. We don't pronounce it. Many words in English that finish in MB have a silent B. And then the letter O inside here is pronounced as OO, the long OO sound. Tomb. Tomb. This is a really commonly mispronounced word, especially in the context of entertainment. If you are into adventure movies and computer games, I'm sure you will know this title, and this is one of the most mispronounced titles in the history of entertainment in English. So how would we say it? Well, we already know that the first word in this title is pronounced as tomb. And what about the other? Well, lots of students say rider, but it's not rider. These letters, A-I, inside, are pronounced as A, because we're not talking about riding. We are talking about raiding, stealing from tombs. Tomb raider. So if you're ever referring to this title, remember how to say it. Tomb raider. And now let's have a look at another word today. And this one is particularly tricky if you are a speaker of Spanish, French, or Italian. Why? Because of the pronunciation of that letter H inside. How would you say this word? Lots of students wouldn't pronounce this H, but it is pronounced. In English, the letter H is very rarely silent. We generally pronounce it. Of course, there are some exceptions, but in general, H is pronounced in English. So how do we say this word? Listen and check. Comprehensive. Comprehensive. Can you hear how much stress there is on that syllable that starts with that H? Comprehensive. Another word which is very, very similar to this one, where again a lot of students are not pronouncing the letter H, is this one. How would you say it? Listen and check. Prohibited. Prohibited. Again, the H is pronounced. There is a strong stress on that syllable where the H is. And there is one more problem with that word. Did you hear how I pronounced the letter O in that first syllable? Listen again. Prohibited. Prohibited. That O is pronounced exactly, well, like the O, the letter O in the English alphabet. So prohibited. And now let's move on to our next word. And this one is tricky again because of how the letter O is pronounced. And it's going to be pronounced in exactly the same way as we have just done it in prohibited. So how would you say this word? Listen and check. Coincide. Coincide. It's a difficult word. It confuses a lot of learners. But we basically started by saying co and then connected to inside. Inside. Just like I'm inside the room now. Coincide. Coincide. Let's move on to the next one. And this is one of my favorite words. Why? Because as a Cambridge examiner, when I hear students pronounce it correctly in the exam, I'm very, very happy. Because it's a difficult word, it's a very counterintuitive word to say. And the problem here lies in the pronunciation of the ending. And of course here you see ate, and you want to pronounce it like the past of eat, and say ate. Logical, isn't it? But it's an unstressed syllable. It means we don't put any emphasis on it. And stress really, really influences pronunciation in English. So what happens in unstressed syllables is that we say them very, very quickly. They're very fast. Listen to this one. Delicate. Delicate. What can you hear at the end? It's just ut, right? A very, very small, very, very short vowel sound there, and then the t, ut. Delicate. Delicate. All of this is because the ending is not stressed. And this is something that you will see very often in English. When you've got a syllable at the end of a word that's not stressed, it's going to be pronounced very, very quickly with that little sound inside, very, very often. Like, for example, here. This is another problem word. Lots of students say rate at the end. And it's logical because rate, if it was on its own, get rid of that, we would say rate, obviously. But in this word, it's an unstressed ending. And because of that, we're going to say it very, very quickly. So how would you pronounce this word? It's a tricky question, isn't it? And it's tricky because there's another problem with this word. I've just told you that these last four letters are an unstressed syllable. So where is the stress in this word? A lot of students put the stress on the second syllable, but that's not correct. The stress here is on the first syllable. Listen. Accurate. Accurate. Can you hear the stress? It's on the first syllable. Accurate. And then the ending, of course, is just rit. Accurate. Accurate. Any word that comes from accurate is going to retain this pronunciation. So it's worth remembering that it's accurate, accuracy, inaccurate, inaccuracy. Accurate, accuracy, inaccurate, inaccuracy. The stress is always on the same syllable. Now let's move on to our next word. And this one, again, if you don't know how to say it, you will never guess it without a dictionary. This is a very useful word, it's a good advanced word, and it's pronounced as, how would you say it? Will it surprise you if I told you that it's just 4 sounds? Listen. Thorough. Thorough. So this word is pronounced as th, at the beginning with a short a, th, th, and then all of these letters here at the end are just two sounds. R, r. Again, that very, very small vowel sound at the end. Thorough, thorough. Let's go to our next word. How would you say it? The problem for a lot of learners here is the pronunciation of the letter O. How would you say it? Listen and check. Uncover. Uncover. How is the letter O pronounced? As the short A sound. Exactly the same sound as in the word but or cut. Uncover. In fact, one of the things that you can remember is that when you see cover, C-O-V-E-R, in almost any word in English, it's going to be pronounced with the short A. So we will say cover, discover, discovery, recover, coverage, recovery, uncover, uncovered, uncovering. All of these are pronounced with a short A. There's just one exception to this rule. Do you know it, by the way? Let me know in the comments if you do. And now let's uncover our next word. So how would you say it? It's not a very complicated word, is it? The problem for many learners here is the pronunciation of the letter A. And in here, the letter A is pronounced, well, as A, the letter A in the English alphabet. So how do we say this word? Chamber. Chamber, with the nice A inside. This is difficult sometimes to remember for learners. Chamber. You can say the letter R at the end of this word. I don't, because my accent is British, and typically British speakers in situations like these don't pronounce the letter R, but there's absolutely no problem, and if you speak international English, which you probably do, you should say the R. Chamber. Just remember to make the R soft. Don't say chamber, but chamber, chamber, chamber. Well done. Let's move on to the next word now. And here I'd like to ask you about which syllable is stressed in this word. Is it the first, the second, or the third? What do you think? How would you say it? Listen and check. Expertise. Expertise. Which is the stressed syllable? It's the last one, and it contains the long E sound. Tease. Expertise. Expertise. You can say the R again and say expertise. Expertise. However you decide to pronounce it, it's going to be stressed on that last syllable, and that last syllable is going to contain a lovely long E. Tease. Expertise. Let's have a look at another word that's very often mispronounced because students put the stress in the wrong place. Where would you stress it? Where would you put the stress, the first or the second syllable? Listen and check. Fragile. Fragile. Was this a surprise for you? It would be for a lot of learners of English. So fragile is stressed on the first syllable. Fragile. Do remember that, because stress plays an enormous role in English. So if you put the stress in the wrong place, it's really confusing for your audience. So do remember, fragile. And now let's have a look at another word. This one is very, very quick. And the problem is the pronunciation of the letters AU inside. You may already remember from our previous videos that we said that AU is generally speaking pronounced as the long O sound. So don't say O or OW, say O when you see AU. It's going to work in 99% of the cases. Vault. Vault. Long O. Now we've got two more words to go, which happen to be adjectives. and we're going to use them to teach you two great pronunciation hacks. Let's have a look at the first one. How would you say it? In particular, how would you pronounce the ending? O-U-S. Listen and check. Spacious. Spacious. What can you hear at the end? How is the O-U-S pronounced? It sounds almost exactly like the letter S in the English alphabet. It's just slightly shorter. Spacious. Spacious. There is a small vowel sound and s, us. Spacious. This is a universal rule that you can apply to any English adjective that ends in O-U-S. This ending is always going to be pronounced as us. So spacious. And remember about that A in the first syllable. It's pronounced as A. Spacious. Now let's have a look at the other adjective I mentioned, the last word today. How would you say it? So in here, you already know that O-U-S is pronounced as S, but we're going to add another little vowel in front of this S. Listen. Curious. Curious. This is an incredibly commonly mispronounced word, and it doesn't matter if you are a beginner or a proficiency student. People just mispronounce it equally, regardless of their level. If you'd like to learn a little trick to say this word correctly, try to remember that it consists of two words. Cure and yes. Curious. Curious. So how are we pronouncing those last four letters here? We're still saying this us thing, that was the same as in spacious, but what is the vowel sound in front of it? It's I. So we're saying yes. Yes. Almost exactly like the word yes. Curious. Curious. There's basically a group of adjectives that end in IOUS where we pronounce this ending as yes. For example, various, previous, hilarious, curious. Now I'm curious to know how many of these words that we have studied today you already remember how to say correctly. Let's check. I'm going to show you each word that we have studied here, and I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to think, try to remember how to say it, and then you will be able to listen and check. So let's go. Tomb. Comprehensive. Prohibited. Coincide. Delicate. Accurate. Inaccurate. Thorough. Uncover. Chamber. Vault. Expertise. Fragile. Spacious. Curious. Well done! How many did you remember? If you didn't remember all of them, don't worry, because it's time now to put all of them into sentences and practice them in a broader context. As always, I'll be showing you the sentence first, giving you some time to think about how to read it and say it, and then you will be able to listen and check with me. If you notice that you are making any pronunciation mistakes, especially any of those mistakes that are so common that we have already mentioned, please pause the video and try to come back to the word or the phrase that you were mispronouncing. This is a very important process of your improvement in pronunciation. So let's have a look at the first sentence. The fragile door we uncovered revealed a hidden path to a tomb. Curiously, the chamber was more spacious than it first seemed. A thorough survey will uncover many inaccuracies. Access to the delicate vault area was strictly prohibited. Her comprehensive and accurate answers showed her expertise. Both tombs coincided in delicate markings covering their walls. Well done! Was it better this time? Did you remember more words and their correct pronunciation? I definitely hope so, and you'll get another chance to try them out in a text we'll be doing. Now, before we move on to the final part of this lesson, I wanted to let you know that if you'd really like to improve your pronunciation, you should consider joining my online learning community, Your English Upgrade. Your English Upgrade is a wonderful place if you want to improve your pronunciation and other skills, and join me learning English on one of the 2 weekly webinars that are available to any member of the community. When you become a member of Your English Upgrade, you immediately gain access to pronunciation hacks, a full pronunciation hacks course that I've designed that will help you sound better and more confident in English, and, of course, you can download all the PDFs and audio practice files that go with this video and any other video that I post on YouTube. The link to the community is in the description. I'll see you there. Now let's come back to our words and let's practice them in a text. As always, I'll be showing you each sentence separately, giving you time to think about how to say it, and then you will be able to listen and check. If you do make any mistakes, pause the video and focus on the words you mispronounced. It's really important. Ready? Let's start. As an archaeologist, I've been part of many digs, but few have matched the scale and the complexity of our recent project in Western Egypt. We were called in after ground scans of the desert west of the Nile suggested the presence of a tomb. And what we discovered there turned out to be more significant than we could have ever imagined. From the beginning, we followed a comprehensive plan. The site was delicate and historically rich, so we took a thorough approach, carefully removing layer after layer of sand, recording every detail. Entry to certain parts of the site was strictly prohibited unless the team member had specific expertise, especially once we reached the inner vault. Inside, we found pottery, tools, and small carvings, some in near-perfect condition, others so fragile they could crumble with the slightest vibration. To protect the objects, we worked in small groups using soft brushes and sometimes even dental equipment. The tomb itself was surprisingly spacious, with wide chambers that suggested that whoever was buried there had a high status in the ancient Egyptian society. Curiously, some of the inscriptions we uncovered matched known records from the first dynasty, the oldest dynasty of the ancient Egypt. It was a rare find indeed, and we were very careful to document everything thoroughly and provide accurate translations before releasing any details to the media. In archaeology, rushing to conclusions can do more harm than good, and any inaccuracies need to be avoided, especially when working with history that has still more to tell. Well done! So how well did you do? Did you remember to say most of the words we have studied here today correctly? I definitely hope so. And if not, don't worry. Simply come back to this video in the future to check how many of these words you can still remember and how many you keep having problems with. Keep repeating and you will eventually remember and your pronunciation will improve. And now, if you have more time to practice pronunciation, why don't you check out one of these two videos and I'll see you right there. Take care, keep learning, and enjoy the process. Thank you very much for watching.